going on? Happy New Year, everyone. 2009. That doesn't seem right. I remember when it was such a big deal, even years before you got 2000. What a big deal 2000 would be, and 2009. Now next year will be 20 years after that. That just doesn't seem right. Any announcements we need to make tonight? Haley is still sick. She is better. She's hoping to be back to close to. She's no longer contagious, but she's just wasn't quite. And then Sophie started with a sore throat today, so I hope she doesn't get sick. Izzy is just, in that miserable cold stage. Nothing. She has no taste right now, so she's not eating much, and because it just doesn't taste very good, and so she's drinking enough. She'll be okay. Just might be the weekend before she starts really improving. Anything else we need to mention tonight?
I think Kimmy's got one waiting head.
Well, isn't that nice of them to share?
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't share with me.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm trying to avoid. Yeah, I might have to find me a place over here. The couch is back there, maybe. I figure I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it all now already. I don't think anything to do now. Anything else? It's not too bad. We do. I'm sure we have others who still sick. How's Jeannie doing? How's Jeannie doing?
Better.
Too better. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it takes a while. The Libby's are in Ghana, and from the brief Facebook posts I've seen, things are going well. And it's an interesting time of year for them to go. They've never been this time of year, so it'll be interesting to see what a difference it is. And I'm sure they'll be giving us some reports when they come back. If nothing else, let's go ahead and have a prayer, and then we'll begin our class. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this evening. We thank you so much for another year that you've blessed us with, that we may find some more opportunities, some doors that are open, and tell others about Christ. We pray that you be with us, that those that are here, we are so thankful and encouraged by them, that we have the Spirit to learn more about your word. Lord, may we apply what we learn and put it to use, and once again be the type of people that you would expect us to. We pray that you be with all those that are on our sick list, all that have been mentioned here tonight. We know that it is the cold and flu season, and many are impaired by that. Be with them, and Lord, may we be all healthy soon, and Lord, may we be back at the next point in time. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Some of you may have, those that have Facebook have seen, I posted a itinerary for reading, trying to read through the Bible, and I'm going to really do my best to make sure every day I say something about it or do something, but at least a week. So those of you that don't do the Facebook, I got the first 2 weeks in the back there, so you can pick up a copy, and you're only a couple days behind, but I really wouldn't worry about, I think sometimes it's like anything else, dieting or anything else, you feel like, I failed so much if I miss a day. And then if we're not careful, we just give up entirely. So I wouldn't stress, if you can do every day, that's great. Especially I would encourage you to pick a time out, first in the morning, last night, or whenever it is, and devote to reading, and that's good to do. But the thing, we don't need to beat ourselves over, and so I'm not really going to say, you need to necessarily do every day, but, if you'll finish the reading in the week, it's an important thing. And so then basically, if you'll do that in the year, next year we'll have people that have read through the Bible, and I don't think that's ever a bad thing. I do like this, and it gives just a little bit of commentary about the section you're going to read. It does in the chronological order. There are other chronological order readers, but I like this. This came up by a member of the church, used to be a preacher at the Duluth Church of Christ in Duluth, Georgia, but it's kind of nice the way it does, and so it keeps it relevant. And if you have extra time, maybe 5 minutes takes to read, and got a little extra time, just kind of either jot some notes or kind of pay attention to what it is and maybe think about it. And if you have any questions with that, you can always see me, but we'll make sure that it's available with the hard format or on the computer. If you got it on the computer, then it's easy. David and Goliath. We've been going through this, and I think David had to fight to be the one to fight, if you remember. Even his own brother gave him a hard time and to not do that. It's interesting, though, that this word of someone wanting to fight. Now, this has been going on, 40 days? Yeah, 40 days. And it's interesting that no one apparently even talked about going and meeting this champion, because when this young man challenged him, he was the one that, the news came to Saul was meeting. By the way, he's got girls now. He might not know how to deal with girls. We have a newbie in there. I asked for volunteers. I didn't say what. Kevin raised his hand. He's used to boys. He's got 3 boys and girls. Yeah, he'll never volunteer. But anyway, I'm just curious. We're not told. And so I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong answer, or maybe to a degree there could be, if you get too extreme. But how old do you think David was? We're talking about being a young man, being young. He was young enough that he wasn't in the battle scenes. His 3 older brothers were, but not all his brothers were. How old do you think? How old do you imagine? When you see it depicted in illustrations, how old is he normally depicted?
12, 14,
Huh?
12, 14,
Yeah, young boy. Yeah, young. I don't think that's the case.
I guess it'd be between 15 and 18.
Yeah, I would even lean more than 18, to be honest. You have to understand that to the Hebrew, to the Jew later, you were considered young until 30. And before we start thinking different about that, do we not really think the same way? And even maybe not even 30, but did you know there's a lot of things that happen at 25, and the insurance goes down, and there are things that is a distinction. Even from a psychological standpoint, did you know they have studied now, and your brain isn't fully formed and developed till you reach the age of 25. Did you know that? So kids that make bad decisions, just tell your parents, my brain just isn't there yet. So it's not my fault. When my brain fully gets developed, I'll be better. I don't know. Maybe that'll work, maybe not. But David was young by what people considered young. But the thing is, when we read this and we segue into chapter 18, it uses the terminology of immediately right after this. We see David is made a man of war. I don't look at someone that was 14 or 15 being made a man of war. Possibly 18, because that's the age that we have when people generally enlist. And it is possible. And it is possible that at that age he would have been made a man of war. I want you to think about, I know in our time, we do have, my kids, but we do have 18-year-olds that are part of the military. They enlist, they go. But, we just we wonder about how, good they can do. They can do an excellent job. It's really their mentality. But you think back even in our history, last year at some point we went, actually spring break, and when we visited Lehigh and Lafayette, they're less than 20 miles apart from one another. Lafayette College was named after Marquis de Lafayette. Anybody know anything about him? Because he was a big hero of the Revolutionary War. Maybe that's a little bit before most of your time. But anyway, the Revolutionary War, he was a big hero. But he wasn't an American. Anybody know where he's from? France, yeah. He is France. Now, he became George Washington's right-hand man, and a lot of the victories were because of Marquis de Lafayette. You want to guess how old Lafayette was when he came to the United States, became a general, and was the main general in the Revolutionary armies? He was 18 years old. And in fact, you go back and look at some of those founding fathers that we think of, you look at some of their ages, and they'll be similar ages. So I really think David was probably more in that age bracket. He wouldn't have been a boy or a teenage, a young teenager, I don't think. I don't think that would fit with what takes place next. And all of that, when, how do we see depicted when, we're going to see Saul's going to put the armor on. And how do we see that depicted usually in illustrations? It just engulfs them, right? I want us to look at the scripture and to see it doesn't actually say that. And so it's interesting, sometimes these illustrations and these depictions, they don't hold up when you actually compare it to what the scripture actually says. So anyway, look at verse 3. Saul said to David, he hears it and said, "You're not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth." Now, once again, I think here what this is saying is basically from the time that this beast, this Goliath, was your age, he's been in battles from this time. You've never been in a battle, is what, in essence, Saul's telling him. But David said to Saul, "Your servant used to keep sheep for his father, and when there came a lion or a bear or took a lamb from the flock, I went after him, struck him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he rose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him." David says, hey, I'm used to battling things. And yeah, I've not been in war like you talk about, but I have killed lions, bears, and rescued them from the sheep. And so, this doesn't concern me or scare me in this giant. Your servant struck them with lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. And David said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." So, once again, Saul is on this track of being more and more away from God, but yet he recognizes that there's something unique about this young man. And the fact that he, inspires the fact that he's passionate about his belief in God, that God's going to take care of him. Saul says, "Go right on ahead." Now, here's where I want you to remember once again, the imagery you generally see in the illustrations. You'll see a young David, like a 10 to 12-year-old boy, and big adult size armor, and it just kind of, swamps him, don't even fit. And Saul was a big guy. He was head and shoulders taller than anyone else. But it says, "Then Saul clothed David with his armor, put a helmet of bronze on his head, and clothed him with a coat of mail, chainmail. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, 'I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them.' So David put them on." Does David say these things don't fit? Does David say it's too big, this is silly? What does David actually say?
He had tried it, he had tested it. And
Yes.
he didn't know if he could do it.
When soldiers fight, I know Jordan was here a few weeks ago when we talked about, the Goliath, his chainmail weighed 120 pounds. I asked Jordan, he said, the stuff they do, the fighting is 60 pounds, which, shows how big this Goliath was. But when they train, the firefighters and everything, what do they train in? They train in that equipment. Why? Because they need to be able to know what it's like when they have that equipment on and how to move and everything. And so soldiers the same way. When they battle with the things that it would be. And so, when a soldier would battle back in the day with the armor, they would practice with the armor on so they know how to move, because it does slow you down. And how to react and everything. David had never been in the military this way. David had never been in armor. And so you can imagine how cumbersome, how heavy it would be, and how clunky it would have felt on him. And he said, "I can't do this. This is not how I'm going to fight it. This is going to slow me down. This is going to keep me from doing what I can do. And so I'm going to get rid of this." and tested. So, I'm not saying it may have been, it may not have been a perfect fit, but it was close enough that that wasn't the reason he didn't do it. He didn't do it because he had not actually fought with it. He didn't know how to use it in the right way. And so, it would have been a hindrance, not a help to him. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put it in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. Now, what a bizarre sight this would have been, because both sides, these armies would have been their full armor. They would have been ready for fighting, even though, they mainly just stood and watched each other for 40 days, and the giant come down there and taunted them. But here's this young man, compared to all the others, maybe he hadn't shaved much before in his life, maybe not shaved at all yet, And here's these others probably big full beards and everything, and all this heavy armor, and here comes a young man with a slingshot. Kid's toy, kid's instrument that many would have thought. What do you think the giant is going to think of that? Well, people think that modern athletes invented trash talking. Not so. We're going to see, you see it over and over. A lot of people loved trash talk back in the day. And the Philistine, he's not even trash talk. So the Philistine moved forward. He came near David with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. Good-looking young man. And the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said, "David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." Now, what do you think most young men in this situation, how would they feel when this 9-foot, 9-inch giant of a man, how would they have felt? They would have been cowering, the knees knocking and everything. I imagine people on the Israelite side, they were afraid for David. They were just like, this is going to be awful. This is going to be, horrible. David wasn't deterred. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come with me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." Didn't bother. In fact, David come right back at him and said, "Not only will I kill you, I'm going to cut your head off, and I'm going to, all the host of Philistines that are killed, we're going to feed their bodies to the wild beasts and the birds of the air." Worst talk is all. But obviously David believed this, because otherwise he would have had no business being there. Because from a pure battle standpoint, from a pure looks of things, there's no way that a young man, much smaller than this giant, could have ever defeated. He says in verse 47, "And that all this assembly may know that the Lord saves, not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand." Now, this isn't the only time, this is the first time either that God has defeated one of Israel's enemy, and it's clearly God that did something, not the people. You can think back to even, when the Israelites came from Egypt, and they crossed over, the Red Sea and everything, and God alone defeated the armies of Egypt. On and on, you see in the book of Judges, you see on and on different things. Gideon and his small 300 defeated the much larger army. You see, Samson was able to defeat the Philistines by himself. You see on and on these things that have happened. And here you see, David says the battle is the Lord's. And you know, a lot of times, you know, we take things and we think we need to do this, or we can't do it unless we have numbers, unless we have, you know, whatever the money or however, whatever, but we need to understand that every day the battle is the Lord's. For Christ has been victorious. We need to have the faith that David had.
I think,
Now, yes.
I was gonna say, I think that verse is a better explanation as to probably why he didn't wear the armor. God never intended him to wear it. He wanted to show that it wasn't from any might of David, but that it was just God.
I'm sure that was, I'm sure the Lord had a role in that, whether through, you know, his providence or whatever. But I do think, you know, primarily, he never wore armor, so it just wasn't something that he was going to be comfortable either way. But it does clearly show. I don't think it would have diminished the battle if David had been in armor, but it just clearly shows the distinction here. But I do think, you know, here, David does make sure that everyone there, including the Philistine himself, understand that it's the Lord's battle. David's not the only person. Now, this is interesting because we're going to see Jonathan and David become very close as friends. But Jonathan had not long ago, remember, he went out with just him and his armor bearer, and he had defeated a large number of Philistines by himself. And in that, 1 Samuel 14:6, Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let's go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving by many or few." So, you know, this is a thing that is consistent with those that have, you know, a high faith. Don't know why Jonathan didn't go down and challenge the giant. We're just not told. But for whatever reason, he did not, and it was David who would do this. In Psalm 44:6-7 it says, "For not in my bow do I trust, nor can my sword save me, but you have saved us from our foes, and have put to shame those who hate us." And, you know, I think sometimes we like to look at things too short term, but, you know, when Jesus said he built his church, how long is this church going to last? Forever.
Until he comes back.
And even then, really, if you think about it, the church goes on even after that, because, you know,
The earthly part of it.
the early part, you know, a lot of people explain the book of Revelation, you have two components. So you have the church militant, which is those in battle here on earth, and then you have the church triumphant, those who have finished their life as faithful. And so what we see is the church is something that is a eternal thing. And so a lot of times, you know, we get downtrodden about the little ups and downs, peaks and valleys, but the truth of the matter is, you know, God has things taken care of. Jesus has defeated our enemies, and we need to understand it is only He that can save us from these things. 2 Kings 6:16-17, this is not going to be the last time something like this. He said, "Do not be afraid." Remember, said, "For those who are with us are more than those who are with him." Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open the eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And I love it. You know, a lot of times it's because we don't see. You know, we're not seeing, you know, what does the Bible say? You know, 2 Corinthians 6:7, "We walk by faith, not by sight." And we don't see that God surrounds us in whatever we do, especially when we're on His side. And a lot of times we don't understand that this is always true, that the ones that are with us are much greater than whatever is out there in the world. And a lot of times it's because we lose sight of our faith in that circumstance. But God is always there, and you know, basically there's nothing that can defeat us. Oh yeah, we can lose our lives, but that still does not defeat us. Romans 8:31 says, "What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?" And so then as we get into our text again, it says, "When the Philistine rose and came through near to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle." Now, what kind of logic would it be? Say you have a really big guy, 9 foot 9 inches, and you have a guy that's probably just average. Guy that's big, strong, muscles everywhere, and a guy that's probably kind of strong. what would the advice, if you were in a fight, what would you probably tell that smaller guy? Use your quickness, bob and weave, kind of. Is that what David's doing? He's actually running towards him. And I'm sure, his right side, they probably just have their heads covered like that. What is he doing? And David put his hand in his bag and took a stone out and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. The stone sank in his forehead and fell on his face to the ground. I imagine you heard the collector. Oh. Both sides of the army is looking. What was that? So David prevailed the Philistine with a sling and with a stone and struck the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in the hand of David, and then David ran over, stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of his sheath and killed him and cut his head off. Another reason why, we're not looking at probably a 10-year-old or 12-year-old type individual here. You're looking at a young adult by what we consider. You're looking at somebody that could nothing else grab the sword of life, which it had to have been a big sword, and he used it to cut the Philistine's head off. Now, what actually killed the Philistine? Well, my guess is, that the stone probably was a lethal blow, but he may not be completely dead. And obviously, when you cut your head off, that kind of does it. But anyway, he cut his head off. Is that not what David said he'd do, by the way? Exactly what he said he did. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Well, I guess so. And the men of Israel, Judah, rose with a shout. Isn't this interesting? They all of a sudden have courage now. They see this young man come out and kill this big giant, and all of a sudden they all, hey. And so the men of Israel, Judah, rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath. That was actually a town in Philistia. And the gates of Ekron. So they wounded Philistines fell on the way from Sharaim as far as Gath and Ekron. And the people of Israel came back from chasing the Philistines and plundered their camp. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. Kept him a trophy, you might say, I guess. But, interesting. Of course, Saul sees it and wants to know who this is. Now, like I say, some of the timeline as far as when David used to play the harp and everything, there's no really big need to really know for sure exactly which one occurs and when they occur. We just know they all did. But here is just a point of fact where Saul is saying, well, who is this young man? What is known who he is? Now, I wanted to, in our last few minutes, next week, we'll finish talking about Saul's jealousy. Saul becomes jealous. Now, what is Saul jealous of? Why would Saul be jealous of David? And really, chapter 18 shows three of the main things. He's going to be jealous of David, and this is going to get worse. Jonathan develops a friendship with David, and at some point even chooses David in essence over Saul. Isn't that what jealousy is about? Typically, at its core is, you have someone that is afraid someone's going to take something away from them. Well, not only was he losing Jonathan, as far as it goes, Jonathan would wind up being as much allegiance to David as to Saul. We see the praise of David. They talk about, Saul has killed his thousands and David has killed his tens of thousands. So even among the people, David receives more praise, once again. In Saul's eyes, David's taken that away from him. And then even his daughter, we're going to say, she develops a love for David. And so once again, we see this jealousy. But I want to just get real quickly, because as soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him his own. And Saul took him that day, and would not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him his own. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him, gave to David, and his armor, and even his sword, and his bow and his belt. And David went out and was successful where Saul sent him, so that Saul set him over the men of war. So, point is, David was old enough that he was accomplished enough physically that he could be a champion of war at this time. And so, once again, you don't know exactly how old that is, but it was probably older than what you've always seen depicted in the illustrations. And so we see this. But we see that Jonathan and David, it makes sense though. Don't you remember those words that Jonathan said about, Lord, they have a similar spirit about what they believe God is able to do. And so we see this, and we see that all this is going to wind up being a thing that Saul, though it says this was good in the sight of all people and also in the sight of Saul's servants. So everybody's going to like this. And it's kind of funny, when you start getting yourself in just that kind of where you don't like hardly anything that's good, you sometimes see bad. And Saul's kind of that night. And so as people start really liking David, what about me? I'm king. And so that jealousy. It gets to a real dangerous state. We'll see that. Any comments, any thoughts about David and Goliath? I think everybody in the world knows the story of David and Goliath. It's used as an analogy, all kinds of things. When you have somebody that's supposed to win or somebody bigger and someone that's not, all the time. It's a David and Goliath story. The truth of the matter is, you don't need to take out the fact that it wasn't just someone that was just so skilled that he was able to beat the giant. It was the Lord that did his battle for him.
But David became a national hero.
He did. Became a hero. Well, you can imagine. He became a hero. And that is kind of a source of the jealousy that's going to continue. We're going to see in this stage of David's life, it's hard to say David does hardly anything wrong. David has the right mind, he has the right heart. He seems to always look to the Lord for his answers. And it's not till he's kind of conquered a lot of things that he kind of lets his guard down, we might say, what should be right and what should be wrong. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Not too bad a crowd tonight, considering it started off low and everything. So it's good to see everyone. Hope you had a good holiday season. Some of you have probably went back to work. Others are just biting at the bit to get back to work, I'm sure. And those of you that retired are just like, ha, ha, ha. How do I do? Good seeing you. Sarah, I'd say if you need a babysitter in the future, Kevin will make it. Oh. Do it while you can, you won't be able to do it Monday. Oh, okay, well, I was about to say.
Good evening. I'm going to be standing in for Steve this evening. A little bit younger.
More hair.
Better looking, more hair. I don't know how long that's going to last. We'll see. Cross my fingers. As far as announcements go this evening, we don't have a whole lot of announcements. I did want to mention that, remind everybody that Evelyn Adams moved into her new apartment. She says, if you want to compare, want to join the moving party, 538 West 6, that's her current house. After 10 a.m. on Friday or Saturday, and they'll put you to work. As far as I know, they're doing all days. So, if you have some time and enjoy moving things, I guess show up at Evelyn's house and they'll have something for you to do. Does anybody else have any other announcements? That's the only thing I really had. Any updates, anything like that? All right. Before we get started, Wayne's going to have the Devo tonight. Can I get somebody to word opening prayer and closing prayer? Chris will do the opening prayer. Rick, you'll do the closing prayer. That would be great. Let's go and turn to number 578. 578. We will glorify. Sing all 4 verses of this song before the opening prayer. If you will, let's be standing for this song, and the man standing for the prayer. 578. We will glorify the King of Kings. We will glorify the Lamb. We will glorify the Lord of Lords, who is the great I am. Lord Jehovah reigns in majesty. We will bow before his throne. We will worship him in righteousness. We will worship him alone. He is Lord of heaven, Lord of earth. He is Lord of all who live. He is Lord above the universe. All praise to him we give. Hallelujah to the King of Kings. Hallelujah to the Lamb. Hallelujah to the Lord of Lords, who is the great I am.
Our most gracious, loving Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight thanking you so much for this opportunity we have to study and learn your will. We pray, dear Lord, the things we learn tonight, we may be able to put to good use throughout the remainder of our lives. We pray, dear Lord, this time you'll be with those that are sick, those that are needy, those that are bereaved. Watch over and bless them. Only you can do, dear Lord, as long as we know their needs. We ask you, dear Lord, also at this time, you'll be with us to the start of this new year. Watch over us. May we make the right decisions. Thank you. We always look to you, dear Lord. Thank you. We pray this not only for ourselves, but also for our country, also for our church here, dear Lord. Guide us in all things. Keep us safe and healthy. It's our prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
If you'll turn to Mark your songbooks, number 552. Number 552, Have Thine Own Way. That'll be the song after Brother Wayne's devotional class this evening. 552. Then turn to number 453. Number 453, Love Lifted Me. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, seemed to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry, from the waters lifted me, now safe am I. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Souls in danger, look above, Jesus completely saves. He will lift you by His love out of the angry waves. He's the master of the sea, those His will obey. He who Savior wants to be saved today. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me.
Good evening. How many were at midnight on New Year's Eve? Well, I was, it wasn't by my choice, because Gene's neighbors started shooting fireworks about 10 minutes from midnight. Did they wake y'all up? The fireworks behind your house? Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's some folks that live behind him that run a fireworks stand, and, they put on quite a show, the best I could tell from hearing distance anyway, so. And then, of course, my wife called me to wish me a happy new year. She was gonna wake me up, but I was already awake. Tammy went to visit her mom for a few days, and she got back today, not feeling well. I think she caught my cold that I had over the weekend. Eagles kind of short tonight. Hope it's worth something to somebody. Got a $20 bill in my hand. How would you like a $20 bill? Raise your hand if you'd like a $20 bill. Everybody like a $20 bill. Okay. What if I take it, fold it up, crease it up, wind it up real tight, real little, like kids sometimes do, is put that electric plate. How many of you still want the $20 bill? Alright, okay. Well, what if I get it out, straighten it out, then I just wad it up? You know, I count money. Part of my job is counting money for a living, and sometimes it looks like this is what I get when I get it to my desk. Would you still want this $20 bill? Okay, all right. Well, do it here. Well, how about if I throw it down here on the floor and I kind of rub it around my feet? I've been out in the mud and everything else. Still want it? Yeah. Still got people want it. Well, what if I tear it here and there? Still want the 20?
I want one.
You want one? He knows. He knows. Okay. Well, you know, there's a good chance that this 20 might have been used to buy drugs. Or maybe somebody even used it to do drugs. Or maybe it was part of a drug deal that went wrong and somebody got killed. Would you still want it? Okay.
Been in the devil's hands long enough.
Well, that's my next step. It could have been used to fund terrorism, is all we know, you know. But of course, you still want it. And why do you still want it? Because it's $20. It's worth $20. And why is it worth $20? It's worth $20 because of an authority higher than me has put a value on it. And it's given its value, and nothing short of destroying it will change that. Just like a $1 bill, value that was assigned by higher power, our Creator. Many times in our lives, we're dropped, crumpled, spit on, ground into the dirt, either by decisions we've made ourselves or by circumstances that were all beyond our control. But here's the thing, no matter what has happened to us, we never lose value in God's eyes. To Him, dirty or clean, crumpled or finely creased, we are still priceless. The worth of our life does not come in who we are, but by whom we are, or by whose we are. This time of year, there's a lot of New Year's resolutions floating around. People want to better themselves and make a change. Maybe one thing that could be a positive change in someone's lives is resolving to give our lives back to the Lord. All of our disappointments, all of our suffering, all of our feelings of worthlessness, He's the God of healing. He has made us clean and worthy of calling on Him. I'll close with a verse from Luke chapter 12, verses 6 and 7. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 farthings, and not one of them is forgotten before God? But even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, ye are of more value than many sparrows. I hope this has been a positive thing tonight for you. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, we offer an invitation. If you're ready to become a Christian, if you're not a Christian, you're ready to become a Christian, we can make that happen. If you want to study more, we can arrange that. If you just have something that you want the church to pray about for you, we can also handle that. You can come now as we stand and sing. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Thou art the Father, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after thy will. Come and make me yielded and still. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. So my being, absolute sway. Fill with thy Spirit, till all shall see Christ only always living in me.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for your word that you give us to strengthen and encourage us and guide us and to help us to know what our path is. We pray that you would help us each realize that you love us and that as you have placed us in this particular place on this earth, that you have a plan for us. We thank you, Father, for the encouraging words that Wayne has given us, and we pray that each day of this new year that we'll strive to do whatever we can to change the life of another person and to be a positive influence, and also, Father, to remain faithful and strong in your word and in this blessing that you've given us as being your children. We pray, Father, that you would be with all of those that we have had on our minds and in our hearts that have been ill, that we brought before your throne. Continue to pray for them, that their strength may return, and that their illness may be gone, and that they may be able to return to those daily activities that they wish to do, and that you've given them to do. We thank you, Father, for those who have improved, and we still know that there are those who are sad because of loss. We thank you, Father, for with our young people. We continue to ask your prayers, ask your guidance and safety upon them, those at school, and those returning to school as well. And we still have those who are traveling. For it's all in Jesus' name we pray.